Chris Lee and Blayne Gilmer of Southeastern 14 here to preview Kentucky's road trip to Vanderbilt to FirstBank Stadium. You can catch that game on the SEC Network at 11 Central, or like me, if you live in the Nashville area, you can catch that one in person. I'll be in the press box for that one. Kentucky, fresh off a pretty dominating win over Akron, a 13.5-point favorite over Vanderbilt, which went to Las Vegas and just laid an egg against UNLV. Blew a 17-point lead, gave up 30 unanswered points, tied it, and then lost it at the end. Spirits very down around that Vanderbilt program right now. Kentucky's unbeaten, hadn't played a whole lot in the way of opposition yet, but certainly the decisive favorite in this one coming in. FPI has the Wildcats 11-point favorites. SP Plus has it at 16. Sagarin has it at 11. Average those four, it's Kentucky by 13. No shocker that Kentucky is the favorite here. And Vandy, I just don't even know what to say anymore. We'll see if this team can get off the mat and play better. Just really, I think Vanderbilt has underachieved the spread in its first four games so far, Blayne.
Yeah, I was expecting a lot more out of Vanderbilt, especially that game against UNLV. I just really thought that they would perform a lot better and close that one out. So I'm kind of shocked a little bit. You mentioned they were downtrodden. The spirits are down, so I would imagine so. I think Kentucky has to feel a whole lot better after seeing what was largely the most complete game that Devin Leary had played to date. And he goes out a little bit with an injury scare there towards the end. And Mark Stoops comes back after the game and says, hey, he just kind of got the wind knocked out of him. He could have come back in if necessary. So really, two programs going in different directions right now in terms of the momentum. Kentucky has had some slow starts and really played their most complete ball against Akron to date so far in the season. Of course, Ray Davis will be very familiar with his opponents on the other side as he transferred from Vanderbilt last year. So that's a storyline coming into this one as well. But things can happen weird and on the road in the SEC. Regardless, we've seen teams who aren't even SEC, aren't even of Vandy's caliber, have interesting games with teams going forward. But Vegas does like Kentucky, and we'll break this one down here to see what it's gonna look like on Saturday.
Let's start when Kentucky has the Cats scoring 35.4 points a game against not great opposition. Vandy giving up 29.3 a game against not great opposition other than Wake Forest, and gave up 40 to a backup freshman quarterback at UNLV. The Cats only running 54 offensive snaps a game. When they do, they throw it 61% of the time. Kentucky getting 6.3 yards per rushing play. Vandy giving up 4.7. Kentucky 8.4 per passing attempt. Vandy allowing 6.4 through the air. Seems like it's worse than that, but I think sacks have helped Vanderbilt there a little bit. Kentucky turning it over on 3.1% of snaps, which is a little bit higher than I would have expected. And the Commodores are forcing turnovers on 2.2% of snaps. Story here, Ray Davis, who rushed for 1,000 yards at Vanderbilt a year ago, now a Kentucky Wildcat, and playing very, very well. He'll be motivated to face his old team, and Vandy's just had trouble stopping the pass and the run at various junctures, and I think Kentucky can kind of pick its poison in this one, Blayne.
Yeah, I think starting fast for Kentucky, because even in that Akron game, even though I said they played pretty complete, they weren't just right on them right off the gate. They kind of picked up more in the second quarter and then went on from there. So, Ray Davis is rushing for over 7.2 yards per carry when he has the ball. I mean, he's really done well for Kentucky to start off this year, and I think you're going to see a team in Kentucky that is looking to get that continuity, get those receivers, those talented group of receivers started early. You mentioned the emotion for Ray Davis. I'm sure that will be there. And then Devin Leary is going to want to play clean because Kentucky, they've yet to be really tested against a quality defense. And I don't know that you can say they're going to be tested against a quality defense in this game going to Nashville, but they will when they play Florida at home the following week. So I think you're going to see Kentucky on a mission to be as clean as they can possibly be, start fast in this game. And then if you're Vandy, I don't care. You've got to dare Devin Leary and those receivers to beat. You cannot just let Ray Davis run right through. You're going to have to put as many hats in the box as you can and just try to make Kentucky one-dimensional. I think that's your main hope.
Yeah, statistically, the defense has not been as bad as I thought when I read the numbers. But boy, if you've watched it, it's just been dreadful when that team has really needed stops. Pass defense has been particularly atrocious. I think that's where Vanderbilt is the weakest. And again, with the quarterback like Leary, I just think that's going to be a tough matchup for Vanderbilt with some speedy receivers. And Kentucky's got at least 3 of those guys, good tight ends. I just think Kentucky's going to be able to be balanced in this one against a defense that just has not been able to stop the best of what other teams have put forth. Okay, for the Commodores, when they've got the ball, this is where it gets a little brighter. Vandy is scoring 34.8 points a game, Kentucky giving up 11.3. Vandy is throwing it 56% of the time. Commodores averaging 4.3 yards on rushing plays. Kentucky giving up 3.6. Vandy getting 7.6 per passing play. Kentucky giving up 5 yards flat. The problem for Vanderbilt, 3.1% turnover rate. Kentucky forcing turnovers at a little higher rate than in recent years, 2.6%. The problem for Vandy lately, AJ Swann has just been really reckless with the ball, either fumbling it, throwing picks, and some of them really bad picks. Vandy's got to hang on to the ball. And I'll tell you this, if this is a game, and let's not forget Vandy won this one a year ago in Lexington, if Swann's better with the ball, Vanderbilt's got some receivers that can give you fits, but just the discipline has not been there. If you're looking for a sleeper alert for this game, I think Vandy's passing attack is good. And if the Commodores can avoid some turnovers, I think they can put up some points, even against a pretty good Kentucky defense.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen Kentucky be very, very stingy against the run, so I don't expect Vanderbilt to have much success doing that. But I do think that AJ Swann is a player that that's what he did last year. He took care of the football. He valued the football this year, not doing that as well. But I think when you see AJ Swann at his best, like you said, he's a guy who can make a lot of throws, make a lot of plays. And, he's got guys in Will Shepherd and Jaden McGowan and Logan Humphreys that can all make plays for him. But the main thing is there any way they can test that Kentucky defensive front and get some running going with Alexander, with Smith, whoever it is? AJ Swann, can they use him, let him run the ball a little bit? I mean, he's not a statue back there. He can run the ball a little bit as well. So they're going to have to manufacture a running game, shorten this game, keep Kentucky's offense off the field, try to sustain some drives here. That's going to be the main thing. But Kentucky so far, I think, giving up something paltry like, 77 yards rushing per game against bad competition. So it's just going to be tough sledding for Vandy, I think, to sustain drives. But AJ Swann, to have a chance, you got to value the football, like you said, and got to find ways to get guys like, how big a fan I am of Jaden McGowan. I just think he's a Swiss Army, utility knife that you can use in many different ways. So they're going to have to get creative and try to do so against a always very well coached Mark Stoops defense, JJ Weaver, those kind of guys over there playing some good football so far this year.
Yeah, good segue to where I was going next. You'll see 2 of the conference's better kickoff return men in McGowan for Vanderbilt, who's brought one back for a score, and Barrion Brown for Kentucky. And I can't remember if he's had a touchdown in his career. I think he's had 1 or 2 as a kick returner. Maybe the kick returner.
Yeah, he had one earlier this year.
Okay, well, there you go. For my money, I think I'd rather see – what am I trying to say? I think there's nobody as a special teams coordinator On the other side, I'd less rather see with the ball in their hands than Barrion Brown. He's just so explosive. Kentucky's special teams have been phenomenal. UK has had kicking problems in the recent past, seem to have resolved that one. Kentucky ranks third in SP Plus's special teams. Vanderbilt ranks 50. Penalties. Here's some good news for Vandy. Hasn't penalized itself a whole lot. 41 yards on average. Kentucky with 55. Anyway, I think we went over the computers. We went over Vegas. I think they got it right. I think Vanderbilt could pull an upset, but the fact that it did a year ago, you would think would have Kentucky a little bit more on guard. I like the Cats to win this one in Nashville, where they'll probably have the advantage in the stands too. So that's what I'm expecting on Saturday. What do you think, Blayne?
Yeah, I just want to see if Kentucky, a team that I really believed in going into preseason, and they haven't, lived up maybe to expectation, but really in 2023 college football, who has? Okay. Nobody around the country has. So can they, put a stake in the ground and make this a point to say, all right, we're going to look back from this game. This is where we started fast. This is where we started to distribute the ball to our playmakers and play a complete and complementary style of football. I think Devin Leary has success in this game. Ray Davis has a big game, and I think Kentucky wins and covers this one in Nashville.
All right, we're previewing every single SEC game involving FBS opponents this season. Best way to catch that, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. That helps our analytics. For Blayne Gilmer, I'm Chris Lee. We're Southeastern 14. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more SEC football content very soon.